Now I get to introduce someone a lot of us know, someone who has played a large part in the history of our center, including, not in the least, being one of our fine practitioners. You know, we have a saying, treat and move your feet, which in other words, pray, but then get busy. Well, I can think of no other better example of someone who has taken this teaching, really stepped into it, made it his own, and then got busy, giving his gift, creating something worthy and expressive of himself, and truly making a difference in our world. A multi-award-winning journalist and filmmaker, I am honored to be able to introduce him today, our dear friend and very busy man, John Frey.
Good morning. It's so nice to be here. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's very, very lovely, very kind. I'm here in the memory of my dear mentor. I didn't even expect that, Dr. David J. Walker. And Cooper Neal. And I don't remember the dates so well, but I remember going to a service at the Scottish Rite Temple on a Sunday about this hour and listening to Dr. Walker give a talk which was basically in a foreign language to me. He talked about God within, he talked about using the power of your mind. There was something at the beginning of the service called a treatment. There were a lot of happy faces. There seemed to be some sort of a community, and it felt a little cultish to me, and it just kind of didn't seem to be my thing. But something settled inside, and I went back the next Sunday, and I started. When was that, Cooper? When was the end of going to Scottish Rite?
I think 94.
Oh my God. Wow. So in 1994, I started my first experience with the teaching of the science of mind and taking a look at the textbook called The Science of Mind by Dr. Ernest Holmes, and attending Sunday services taught for the most part by Dr. David J. Walker. Our Sunday service moved into a couple different venues, and I became more and more interested and didn't really know how to apply it. For me, it was coming on a Sunday, and that hour in the service was just an opportunity for me to let my blood pressure go down and take a deep breath, and it was a little bit of a sanctuary for me. But taking it out into the world, at least initially, wasn't necessarily something that I was that interested in. I just didn't know how to do it. I was an actor at the time, and as many of us have in our career as actors, I was struggling, and I was working many odd jobs to try and make ends meet so that I could pursue my dreams. And I guess I came here to what is now the Center for Spiritual Living in Los Angeles to see if I could use some sort of spiritual principles to help me get a job. Can you use spiritual principles? Can you use the understanding of a creative force or God or whatever you choose to call it to elevate your career, or to enrich yourself, or to have a bigger and better experience of life? It seemed blasphemous to me. But that's what I heard on Sunday. I heard that what is within is the very spirit itself that animates your life, and if you can tap into that and you can harness it, I suppose, and employ it, that you can use it everywhere, in every experience, in every aspect of your life, from health to relationships, to career, to finances, that the power of God is available and accessible and usable. Seems pretty simple. I was raised Catholic, and that's not the teaching that I understood. I understood that religion was something that you had to bow down to. You had to be humble, you had to be contrite, you had to make sure you didn't sin, And if you followed all of the rules from day one, and there were no blemishes on your soul, you might enjoy an afterlife. That's kind of my basic understanding of Catholicism. And I'm not here to denigrate it. That's my understanding. I went to a Catholic elementary school, a Catholic high school, and I graduated from a Catholic university. So I got a lot of it. And so when I came here, searching some sort of spiritual solution to what was troubling me, it didn't sound spiritual to me. It sounded like get rich quick. It sounded like self-help. It sounded like, maybe some sort of latest fad. But as I said, I kept coming back. So there must have been something about it. I don't know if it was the people or Dr. Walker or the message or all of it that had me keep coming back every Sunday. And I just dipped my toe in the water. I really didn't get involved. I just sat in the back and I listened. But I kept coming back. And over the course of time, the career, the very reason that I had come to the center to help the situation that I was in, to improve the situation that I was in, was not improving. I would just come and I would listen. And then I would leave and I'd go about my way and I would do the same things that I did the week before and do them the same way and expect the results to be different. And nothing was changing. I wasn't employing the principles. I wasn't using the tools in between Sundays. I just came here to feel good for an hour. I can't tell you what happened or what event or why it changed, but I decided to get a little bit more involved. And I started taking classes. So if I felt good on a Sunday, maybe I could feel good on a Wednesday night. That was kind of as far as I thought. And those classes elevated my consciousness. Remember, on many occasions, the classes being confrontational. If your career isn't working, I don't think that Dr. Walker ever said something like this, but this is what I would hear. If your career isn't working, if you're not advancing, if you're not doing well in your chosen field, all you have to do is look in the mirror. I mean, that's kind of how I interpreted it. That the good that I wanted was up to me and nobody else. It wasn't the agent, it wasn't the business, it wasn't the time of year, it was up to me. So that put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and I didn't like it. I mean, I kind of equated that to being a failure because things weren't working. So there were many times in a class, I think they were about 2 hours long at the time, and there was always a break between the first and the second hour, and sometimes I would leave. I would leave halfway through because the information that I was getting, although it sounded real and true, I couldn't handle. Because the person that needed to change was me. I was full of fear, I was full of self-doubt, I was full of blame. If things weren't working, it was you. I didn't feel like I had what it took. Those are the things that kept bubbling up, and those are the things that I didn't want to pay attention to. But I kept coming back. And I kept taking the courses. And the courses added up over the course of time. And I finished my first year of teaching, and then I decided to take a second year and so on. And the next coursework that was left was to be a practitioner and take coursework to become a science of mind practitioner. And I never really considered myself to be a religious person, and I never really thought of someone who would espouse religious beliefs or help other people with their spiritual journey. I took the courses to become a practitioner because those were the next courses that were indicated, and I enjoyed the classwork. I still really wasn't employing much of it in my life. Not much. In hindsight, I understand that there is evolution, and growth doesn't necessarily take time, but it takes the development of consciousness, and that's what was happening. There was expansion, and there was growth, and there was change, but it was incremental. It's hard to tell if a plant is growing from one day to the next. I travel a lot, and I have a small garden, and I can tell that it's growing if I'm gone for a while. I come back a week later and I can see that something is in bloom that wasn't when I left. But if I look at the garden every 5 minutes, I don't see any change. And that's how I was analyzing myself. In hindsight, there was nothing but change and there was nothing but growth. Every class, every Sunday service, every treatment, every time I opened the book, every time I contemplated the divine within, there was growth. But I wasn't seeing what I wanted as results. I was equating my growth with what was happening in the outside world. I kept coming back. I got my license to be a practitioner, and then I had to help people like you. I don't mean people like you like you're off the street or something, although I did see a couple of you off the street. You know who you are. That's a Dr. Walkerism, isn't it? In the service to others is where I understood the principle. In order for me to give to you my knowledge and my understanding of the divine, I had to understand it for myself. I couldn't bullshit. I'm not allowed to say that, am I? I just felt a pat on my back from Dr. Walker, I think. I really had to be genuine. If I sat with a client and they came to me with a problem and we were supposed to apply spiritual principles for a healing, because that's what a practitioner does, is demand a healing based on spiritual principles, or to not see the malady because in the eyes of God there is no malady, I had to be on my game. It's when I started giving it away, when I started offering my understanding and my years of teaching and school and Sunday services and reading, when I started offering what I had learned, is when I understood it for myself. It became real. It became tangible. I could speak the word. I could see the results in other people's lives. Not because I, John, spoke the word. It's because the principle works. It just works. Spiritual principle works, whether I'm around or not. It is the way of the world. It is the way the universe is. The planets are aligned. The stars aren't falling every day out of the sky. The sun and the moon and the earth works perfectly. Nature is in harmony. The life force is, whether I believe it or not. And I can employ it. I can access it. I can find a way to get rid of my smallness and accept its grandeur. And that's what started to happen when I became a practitioner. I'm not advocating for anybody to become a practitioner. This is what happened for me. I was stubborn, and I was fearful, and I was full of small-minded ideas. So a Sunday service and years worth of class wasn't enough. I had to chip away. I had to chip away, and I had to chip away at the things that were blocking me, or what I perceived to be blocks. And it was in years of service that the outside world, the reasons that I had come to this service in the first place, started to change. That's the teaching. If there's change within, if there's change in mind, there will be change in the external. That's the teaching. It's that simple. What I think, I experience. What I embody, I experience. And I started to embody and experience spiritual growth. You know, it's 2015, so that's 20 years of this teaching. I'm a slow learner. But it's okay because I had built a foundation. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme that, you know, there's this, I'm sure many of you have heard of the studies of lottery winners, and they get the right ticket and they win millions of dollars, and within a year or two they're broke. It's provable that consciousness is what needs to be built, not an infusion of cash or that great job or meet that person, you know, that person that you long for. I believe today I have a foundation. I believe today that I'm on solid ground. I came in here desperate to have a career as an actor, and that's not what happened. Elizabeth mentioned that I'm a journalist. They're pretty different occupations. I came in here not knowing who I was. I came in here thinking that if I was a famous and rich actor, that maybe I could accept myself. Maybe you guys might accept me. That's not how Spirit saw it. I kept being urged and directed and guided in a direction of being of service to a larger population of people, to provide information that may not otherwise be provided except through the vehicle of me, to educate, to elevate, to expose, sometimes in some cases, justice is rendered as a result of some of the reporting I've done, which is incredible. The public, for the most part, has entrusted me with providing them with facts and information on a big stage. I'm not saying that so that you can pat me on the back. I'm saying that because that's reality, and that's not who I was when I came here 20 years ago. I doubt, and I worry, and I fear on a daily basis. It's part of my humanness. I am not rendered on a spiritual cloud and everything is rosy. But I haven't left the practice. When I fear and when I doubt and when I worry and I think that it's all falling apart and it's all a sham and it's not going to work anymore, I have become acutely aware of that train of thought, and I pray. I accept the truth. I sit still. I bring in the reality of the universe. And I move forward. And I do that daily. I don't allow the negativity and the outside world and what happened yesterday and what should happen to affect me too deeply. I have been trained here that all of those kinds of thoughts and beliefs are creative. And I don't want the results of that kind of thinking. I am very clear that I can create just as much crap as I can create just as much good. And I've done the previous. And I don't want it. It's up to me and my understanding of spiritual principle and whether or not I'm willing to employ it. Today, my life is on really stable ground. My career is, it's not that I don't believe that it's happening to me. My career is a direct result of the elevation of consciousness. And I didn't know how to do that. I was waiting for a break. I was waiting for someone to do it for me or the right timing. And it didn't work. I was waiting a long, long time. And when I started to initiate action and when I started to employ the principles that we are taught here every Sunday and in every class and in the book and in many teachings and many meditations and many treatments, when I started to actually employ it in the face of fear and in the face of doubt, in the face of things not working out, when I started to use the truth with a capital T, and say, no, that reality, that which I see before me, has no bearing on my life. I determine my future. I say which way I go. I say I am going to succeed. That's how I talk to myself. That's really crazy. I don't do it out loud, but I do it frequently. Because if you're like me, there's a lot going on in your life that shows you otherwise. You can turn on the news, you can hear something from a neighbor or a friend, you can get a bill in the mail, you can lose a long-term relationship. So many things can happen that will knock us down or tell us otherwise. I don't pay attention to it much anymore. What Dr. Holmes wrote and understood, and what Dr. David Walker taught me and understood, I believe. It's not hocus pocus for me. It's not magic. It's universal truth. And when and if there are obstructions to the understanding of that universal truth, they should be freed. They should be gotten rid of. That's what I had to do. I had to ask for help. I don't want to sit anymore in an unsuccessful life. I want to make sure that the gifts and talents that were bestowed are offered. It makes me happy. It makes me feel alive. And I'm no special anything. I have what we all have, which is that spark of life. I am fortunate that I was taught by some experts on how to access that spark. Probably the best teachers of this science, including Reverend McLean. And I'd like to thank him for giving me this opportunity to share with you. My life today, I can say emphatically, is a direct result of the teachings of the science of mind. It works. It is a part of me. It is my mental process on a regular basis. And I employ it, and I tap into it, and I understand it. My library is filled with books from Dr. Walker and Dr. Holmes and every other teacher in this science. And when I'm in trouble, and when I'm not in trouble, I pick them up, and I use them, and they work for me. My life is a spectacular result of what goes on in here every Sunday, and I'm eternally grateful for all of you. Thank you all very much.